Hello, everybody. We are gathered for part 3 of finding out. Are we in a cult? Have we left a cult? Holy shit, what's going on? We are going through meticulously the BITE model, which was created by Dr. Stephen Hassan, an ex-cult member. We've gone through behavior. We started information. We're hoping to finish information today. How it goes. Any comments before we start?
No.
Thanks for inviting me back.
Yeah,
Right.
part 3.
Holy shit, I'm excited. Because information is where I think meat eating going down the hill. I don't know, I'm scared. I told these two guys that I'm scared that meat eating is an actual cult because I don't think it is. Convinced that it isn't. And if it happens to be, I'm gonna be flexed. But accept the outcomes. So let's continue with information. Minimize or discourage access to non-cult sources of information, including internet, TV, radio, books, articles, newspapers, magazines, media.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that applies to veganism. I would say, if anything, veganism is encouraging more literature being read. So I would say it doesn't apply.
Patrick?
I cannot see it applying to meat eaters.
That's good. Finally, something that doesn't apply to me. I joke, but I will accept my fate as militant vegan. Right, so it's very expensive for Scientology members to go on the internet. I will explain why. People who are part of the public and not part of the clergy are going up the bridge to total freedom, and every step costs money. And they go in basically almost every day or every day to get what is called auditing, the thing when they connect you to cans and blah, 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 and all that stuff. So on that part of Scientology, when they get audited, they believe that the emitter can read their minds or their hearts. And if they go on the internet and read something that is against Scientology, they then have to pay an exuberant amount of money to handle that. When we say exuberant amount of money, it's around $500 an hour. So they just don't go on the internet, and they don't listen to anything that goes against Scientology, right? Minimize or discourage access to non-cult sources information, including critical information.
No, I'd say again, veganism seeks to do, if anything, the opposite. The critical information, I would say, is hidden. That got changes people's food choices for a large portion, or not just food but other things, like animal tested ingredients. If they knew the critical information that beagles were being tested on, that other animals were being tested on, maybe they wouldn't actually purchase it. So I'd say it's the opposite.
Patrick?
I'll need more clarity on what critical information means
Yeah,
to
so
answer this one.
I myself wasn't sure. Just let me look in what I was making. I'm not sure how to define it. I myself found it difficult, and at first made a cop-out, and declared that the most critical information that cult members don't have access to is that they can survive outside the cult. But I actually made an actual example of, maybe I just go through an example, Patrick, and then. So L. Ron Hubbard had, who invented Scientology, had a small vendetta, or a large vendetta against psychologists, because he actually wrote a bunch of bullshit on a paper and sent a bunch of psychologists who didn't accept and laughed at him. So since then he kind of hates them, and the entire space opera saga of Xenu, the Lord, and blah, 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 and everything is psychologists and psychiatrists' fault ever since. So I think the most critical information that cult members in Scientology don't have is that psychology and psychiatry, although has a checkered past, saves people, saves lives, can be incredibly beneficial to, and can be incredibly beneficial to Scientologists when they go out. So, Patrick.
I don't think so. This applies to meat eaters. Meat eaters, they're free to look at what they want,
Yeah.
really. And they've got all the material which is available on the internet if they want to choose to look at it.
Yeah, they just don't go look at it, but I don't think it's like from the pressure from the group. What do you think, Vijay?
It's funny because I interviewed Wayne Chung the other day, and Wayne was saying that within the board, it's hard to explain from a layman, but within the experimentation industry, they have to report instances of animal cruelty. And apparently there was only one reported instance of animal cruelty. But of course, statistically, that's probably like near impossible that you'd have one instance. So critical information there was actually being withheld but is that fringe?
So yeah, this really depends on what we mean by critical info. Oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Sure. The question is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm totally losing my. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think, I mean, we can revisit it later, I think, right now.
Guess it's too fringe, maybe. Yeah.
Let's just continue and see what falls. So again, minimize or discourage access to non-cult source information, including former members.
Yeah, I can't say. I might need clarity, and maybe Patrick might need clarity on what exactly this means, because like I don't see my access to other people being denied in any instance.
Yeah,
if that's what that means, then no.
If there is a pressure from usually cult leadership or cult itself, if it's a leaderless cult in some way, to not talk to former members anymore.
I've never been told not to talk to someone because they're not vegan anymore. I don't see. I think people are like, oh, this person is now not good, but like have I seen anyone say don't talk to that person anymore? Even if there is, veganism isn't calling for that. The group isn't like as a whole mandating not speaking to the outer circle.
Yeah.
If anything, we want to talk. We want to talk to them to try and like get them back into the cult, you know? Yeah.
Patrick, any meat-eating leaders encouraging meat eaters to never talk to vegans anymore?
Just from experience, I feel like sometimes when meat eaters have a friend who turns vegan, they sort of isolate themselves away from this person who's adopted the vegan ethical position. So it's more sort of like a group mentality thing, but there's no mandate which says you shouldn't. For example, my parents, they still talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, and my dad is a meat eater.
Yeah, I think there's no pressure from the group. Some people are assholes. Right, moving on. Yeah. So SP declare, we talked about this before, suppressive person declare, and the disconnection policy. So whenever a cult member, Scientologist becomes an ex-Scientologist, and they start saying anything online, or sometimes just, I don't know. However, SP declare works, whenever they are declared a suppressive person, the word goes out incredibly fast for everybody to connect from them on social media, block them on Facebook, Instagram, and etc. And to an immediate pressure on the family and friends of those people to do the same, to disconnect from them and never talk to them again. And that's what happens most times. The only way for a person to escape that is for the family or friends to follow Claire out of the cult. Happens. Keep members busy so they don't have time to think and investigate.
This is a weird one. No, I would say this doesn't apply. It's very strange when I read that one. I was like, what on earth? No, definitely not.
Patrick?
No, definitely not, as far as I can tell.
One of those things that doesn't apply to the meat-eating cult. I'm joking. I will stop joking. I apologize to everybody. Guys, while you're here, whichever stream you're on, can you please grab the other two streams? Like them, subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help getting the word out. So keep members busy so they don't have time to think or investigate. In case of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's actually one of the commands from up high to keep busy during the last of the last days. So Jehovah's Witnesses, similarly to Mormonism, think that throughout our lifetime, this entire shit is gonna change. Everybody's gonna die, everything's gonna explode, and only the special ones will survive and, I don't know, go into the kingdom of God. I don't know specifically Jehovah's Witnesses. I haven't watched it in a while, but it's something similar to that. Yeah, keep busy. Continue proselytizing for blah, blah, blah. Control through cell phone with texting, calls, internet tracking.
No, that's never happened to me or anyone I know through veganism. And if it did, I tell you, I'd be getting very possessive real quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not taking my phone from me.
Patrick.
This is another one which doesn't apply to meat eaters.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a shame. Okay.
Are you sure it doesn't apply? Like the bacon, those comments.
That's
they
a good
have to
point.
be-
Yeah,
Or-
maybe there's an app that just goes through all the vegan posts and just posts bacon
It's gotta
glow
be.
in your
It's
name.
gotta be.
Shit, somebody should patent that shit and make lots of money and donate it to a sanctuary or something. Real.
No, I've heard there's some theories going around that there's a lot of bots.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's not a
yeah.
theory, it's a known thing. You can catch them once in a while as well.
But yeah, I don't know if it's actually, if the bots are not really controlling the members inside the group, right? They're just being
No,
they're
I'd
just
say
being sent
that's,
by the
yeah, that's fringe
yeah,
and
by
that
the
happens
animal
from other
exploitation
places. So.
industry.
Sorry.
Just tongue
Yeah.
in cheek, you know.
What, sorry?
It's just a bit of tongue in cheek, you know.
Just to tire us out so that we don't talk to actual people. What it's there for. Maybe. I don't know. Conspiracy. Yeah, so when a boy and sometimes a girl in the LDS church, the Mormon church, and there are no non-binary people in the church. Anyways, when a boy becomes 18, he goes on a mission, and a girl sometimes as well at the age of 20, 21. And then they have to actually bring a Samsung phone to that mission. They're sent all over the world, whichever. And that Samsung phone is loaded with apps and like parental controls of the mission, and they can't use their own phone. So their phone is controlled for the period of 2 years along the mission, I think. Right. We moved on to number 3. Compartmentalize information into outsider versus insider doctrines. Ensure that information is not freely accessible. And I wrote a little note here. Insider information not freely accessible to outsiders, and vice versa.
When I'm thinking of information, I'm thinking of the information that vegans want to share. So, like, I'm thinking like slaughterhouse footage, factory farms, what happens to animals. Like, it is freely accessible, and we want to actually share it.
Mhm.
So I'd say it's like I'm can't really think of like what information is hidden other than like people's personal information.
Well, according to people online, vegans never talk about the fact that we need to supplement. Maybe bad.
But
I'm
we
sarcastic, of course.
oh, yeah. And it's just like any accusation that they throw at us of something like that, it's just like there will be a few people who are like, no, don't bother with that. But obviously there's scientific differences of opinions anyway. And veganism, if anything, the consensus is like supplement, I think. So no, I don't think it would apply.
Patrick?
Yeah, I don't think it applies as well because most vegans were meat eaters anyway, so they also know how meat eaters think. And vegans are also always around meat eaters, and there's no hidden secrets within meat eaters that doesn't get transmitted to vegans, unless it's, I guess, farming and stuff like this. Some hidden things going on, because I always find out new things in watching slaughter footage, which I don't know. But
Yeah, but the footage is like, okay, I'm trying to think. So in the past few years, farmers are very good at getting information out on how they conduct certain practices. Not all of them, but like most horrific things that run in my head when I'm trying to fall asleep are from farmers, not from investigations of vegans, like vegan investigation of other farms. So yeah, I would agree. I think there is no partition there. I think it comes from persons themselves.
It's difficult. Like freely accessible is it's very up to interpretation when the message is muddied so much. So when you have words like high welfare, you're told right in front of your face that the animals were happy. It's like, is the information as freely accessible if you have an industry saying certain words? Like, is it as freely accessible if you have an RSPCA assured label? So you think Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals is assured this, but then I don't know, but you can just Google slaughterhouse footage. You can do that. So
Yeah, that's what I meant. I mean, all the information is out there.
is there, but the information is getting muddied by the social norm.
One of the points I was saying is that every time I see something on slaughterhouse footage, which I never seen before, so there's a lot of slaughterhouse footage, but I'm sure there's things which I've not seen yet. Because
there is a horrific thing that I saw only 30 minutes before. Yeah, so if you find my energy weird, that's why. Let's continue.
So for that point, we will say does not apply, or because I see Elle's point, which your point is that the misinformation and distorting the information is sort of making the truth less accessible. Was this?
Yeah, it's less freely accessible if you have like in your ear like something telling you the complete opposite of what you're like looking at. It doesn't feel as freely accessible, but I think on paper it is.
Oh yeah. Hold on, yeah, straight up. Some of them are like, yeah, no, that's not happening. What you telling me is happening. What's video showing is happening. That's literally somebody told me that. Well, but the question is that fringe? Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm understanding Elle's point, I think. Yeah.
Like it's I don't think it's fringe when you hear it all the time. You hear that like basically every country nearly wants to say we have the most humane welfare, like best animal welfare standards. You know, that we love animals. We're a nation of animal lovers. I wouldn't say it's fringe, so that's a tough one.
Fun fact: my country doesn't even bother doing. Everybody knows that animals have a shittiest.
Well,
Right.
at least
Patrick-
honest.
Yeah, Patrick, what have you decided?
Maybe I should go for partially applies. What do you two think?
Yeah.
Or I think
I'd say partially,
Yeah.
because it is technically freely accessible, but then technically in another way, it is not.
I think so. Right. Level 3. So, it is information not freely accessible? The answer is yes. So OT level and I said before, OT3 is confidential. And to get to that level, you have to go through several other levels, and that costs around $170,000 just to get to that confidential level where you find out all the crazy shit that Scientology is really about. So it's actually more accessible to the outsiders. Outsiders know more about what Scientology is about than Scientologists themselves.
Damn.
Did I not? I deleted. There was another example, but let's skip it. Compartmentalize information outsider versus insider doctrines. Control information at different levels and missions within group.
I mean, if this is happening, then I don't know about it, you know, because I might be at a very low level or not very like in the mission. I imagine there's some level of information control with missions. Like if you're talking about like investigations in farms, they need to be quite quiet. But like missions can be loads of different things in cults.
Yeah.
So I think maybe my lack of understanding, but I'm going to say it doesn't apply.
Patrick?
I'm not too sure what missions means exactly within the group, but controlling information at different levels, I'll guess there is information being controlled at all the levels in some aspects. So from what would you two say? Because, for example, the companies, they've got the photos of happy farms on their products, and then further upstream, the information is being controlled. So, for example, most people cannot just go to a slaughterhouse and see what's going on if they wanted to.
I think that would be more the information is being controlled, like as we've seen in like recent documentaries, like the farming board governs itself and it controls the information about its own like practice.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on meat eating, and I wouldn't put it on outsider versus insider, because it's controlled from everybody, from the entire society.
True.
Yeah, so I would say not applies in this. Do you agree, Patrick?
So it depends what at different levels means, I guess.
I don't think there are levels to meat eating, frankly. I don't think it applies at all.
Yeah, this is what I'm confused by. I don't think there's levels to, but I am thinking of industry as well when I'm thinking of this. So yeah.
So what could the different levels be, for example? Would consumer to the farm, is this
what's my next
interpretation?
Yeah. So I'll give that example as well. But in case of Mormonism, for instance, there are levels of bishopship or whatever it's called. People are progressing, they're becoming elders, and only men, by the way, not women. Women don't progress anywhere. But men first are elders, and then they might become a bishop, and then they might become part of the Quorum of the 12, or Quorum of 70, and then Quorum the 12, and then the president. So there are hierarchies, there is leadership, and information doesn't trickle down. When people they politically climb this hierarchy, they find out all kinds of shit about the cult. But the people don't, just regular people don't know about that stuff.
So would it be a fair interpretation to say there's like two main different levels, the meat eaters and then the farms?
I don't know if I would say that. I don't know if it applies. Elle?
I don't know if I. It is the problem that I'm having with when I'm assessing these. I'm not looking at meat eating as a whole, and but then I'm thinking meat eating is like farming's part of the whole picture.
Yeah, we should think
Like-
about meat eating as ideology. Ideology opposite to veganism, or separate from veganism.
Then wouldn't the ideology have some sort of protection over the animal farming?
I don't know. People in rural areas usually know and accept what happened to animals.
Mm-hmm.
Themselves, they live next to farms. They hear the screams. They hear all that shit. I mean, there is.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say there is, I don't know, lack of access because the farms are pretty far, but not in some countries, very integrated society. So I say it doesn't apply. Like, I don't see how.
I don't think there's different levels of meat eater. Yeah, I think it's pretty even. Yeah.
40-year-old vegan says government doesn't share what disease pathogens they may have had. I don't know if that's like the government have a hand in the ideology of like, but then I don't know, the government hide a lot of things. So I don't know if it's an ideology attached to meat eating ideology. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds societal because at first when COVID hit, there was some hiding the situation a little bit.
Let's say not applies for this one.
Yeah, let's just get on because my explanation is very long. I've decided that it's finally time to explain what the bridge to total freedom does, because it's actually the levels. So, state of clear, you find out that you have everything that's wrong with your life is because of your reactive mind. And now that you know this, it doesn't control you anymore. Then on OT1, then you go on to the actual bridge of total freedom. With OT1, solo auditing, you just learn how to audit yourself and your, well, that comes later. On OT2, you go through past life whole track incidents. Basically means that you are audited on what happens to you in your past life. Basically sitting there making shit up. On OT3, you find out that you have body patterns stuck to you and you need to get rid of them. On OT4, you have more body patterns, but these had drug problems. Find them before. Now you have to audit them differently. OT5, you have even more body patterns, but these are in clusters, and that's why you couldn't find them anymore. So first you have to break the clusters and then get rid of the PTs. On OT6, you basically train for OT7. OT7 is you have more body patterns, but these are in the environment and fucking up your mic and all that shit. OT8, you find out, past lives, memories that you have been auditing all this time, right? You learn how to do it on OT2, but you're auditing all this time. They weren't yours. They were your body patterns. So now you know, got rid of them, know who you are not, and you're ready to find out who you are. OT9, but OT9 doesn't exist because L. Ron Hubbard died too young. There we go. Sorry.
And breathe.
Right. Allow only leadership to decide who needs to know what and when.
I mean, if I'm clearly not a leader because I don't know this information, but then I don't know who the leaders are supposed to be. So I'm going to have to say this doesn't apply because where are the leaders? Who are they? And what do they know that we don't?
Elle, what are you talking about? You are an actual cult leader?
Look, that's for me to know and you not to find out because I am a leader and I control the information. Okay.
Patrick.
Nope. Meat eaters are free to watch whatever they want. They can go on YouTube, as I did when I was a meat eater, discover some vegan channels, and
Ooh, we
yeah,
have to get
there's
your
there's
story
no
one
one
day,
there's no one
Patrick.
there's no one saying at this moment in time you can go on the vegan channel or you're not. You know,
Are there any meat eaters in our channels? Say hi. Don't be shy. All right. So as I was talking, LDS, the Mormon, they have general authorities. So they have first presidencies, and then quorum of the 12, then quorum of the 70, and so on and so forth. And this leadership has an annual conference in which they basically give you marching orders, because everything they say there is incredibly long and boring speeches. But everything they say, they're supposed to be like the new way to act in LDS. So you can also see that there is lots of diversity there. So that's very. Okay. Number 4, encourage spying on other members. Impose a buddy system to monitor and control members.
No, because I don't have a buddy. I've never been assigned a buddy. So
Isn't that
I'm going to say it's a shame. Someone be my buddy. I haven't had this knowingly. So I would say no. No, it doesn't apply.
Yeah, Patrick.
I can't think of any meat eaters with a buddy either, so doesn't
All
apply.
losers have no
Yeah.
friends.
Right, so back to the Mormon mission. So the missionaries literally have a buddy system. They call it that. They have to keep each other accountable, not only while doing their missionary work, but throughout the entire mission. And if something happens, they have to report to the mission president. And I heard I heard from people who used to be on a mission, which is usually men, that they even go to the bathroom together, and that the missionary who is peeing have to have one hand up. And whoever understands why, they don't touch them. That's why.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Right. Report deviant thoughts, feelings, and actions to leadership. That's encouraged spying on.
Again, who's the leader of veganism or meat eating? I like for the veganism side. Yeah, no, I know that people do talk about having weird dreams where they've eaten the flesh of animals and that they feel bad about them, but nobody's like encouraged to report it. But that would probably be considered a deviant thought.
Well, we have to find our leader. Where are they?
I know, where is the leader? We need a leader. Lead me.
Patrick.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any examples of meat eaters having to report instances of saying, "Oh, I'm starting to think, non-human sentient beings deserve moral consideration."
Yeah. All right. Doesn't apply to both potential cults. Scientology again. So there is an actual policy from L. Ron Hubbard to write knowledge reports. KR called for short. It's written by the members, both like public and those who work for Scientology, or work is slaves of Scientology. So they write it on family, friends, co-workers, anybody. There are loads of KRs on David Miscavige, but those are suppressed because he's the ecclesiastical leader. So, but the rest are taken very seriously and go through the chain of command and all that shit. So I actually put an example of knowledge report because I know some people are going to go and read this stuff. So you can actually read what it sounds like. It's really, really silly. Yeah. But let's continue. Encourage spying on other members. Ensure that individual behavior is monitored by group. Elle?
No, I think people kind of are just vegan and then they live their life. And like I know a lot of people who have reported to feel quite isolated from other vegans. Like so it's kind of like they're not being monitored, like no one's paying attention to them. And yeah, like I feel like I'm vegan and I live my life and I can kind of dip into the community if I want to, but then I can come out very easily. So I'd say it doesn't apply, and I can't think of instances where individual behavior is monitored by group unless no. Can you think of anything?
Yeah, I can actually think of
Okay.
a few examples, but I wouldn't say that it's ensured by the group. I just think some people have this constant anxiety about some vegans being not vegan enough. But but I think it's like incredibly individual thing. I don't think it's ensured by the cult or
So you say it's more fringe.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Patrick?
Yeah, I agree on the vegan side. Most vegans, they're pretty alone. Yeah, or most vegans, I feel they don't even know many other vegans unless they're doing activism or outreach. So hopefully as we transition towards a vegan world, it'll be more vegans will feel left alone. And in terms of meat eaters, yeah, no one's monitoring, did you not exploit some sentient being today? Did you not support some exploitation? You know, there's no big boss monitoring people who supports rights violations.
Yeah, I agree. So in LDS, whenever people, especially young people, do something that might not adhere to the ideology of LDS, they then have to feel compelled or feel pressure to go and tell all about it to the bishop. Sometimes it's, very private sexual stuff that they did with their boyfriend or girlfriend. It's sometimes bishops give them punishment of not taking the sacrament. Now, the problem there is that when they are not taking the sacrament, they are surrounded by everybody they know. And it really stands out that they didn't take it. And then the rumor mill begins of what did they do? And it usually goes to the worst stuff, and sometimes bishops are dicks and just gave them this punishment for like a minor, small infraction. And people become, adulterers in the minds of their group. Yeah. So, okay. Extensive use of cult-generated information and propaganda, including newsletters, magazines, journals, audio tapes, videotapes, YouTube media.
Yeah, so it might be worth looking at the word propaganda first. Propaganda isn't necessarily like it's conveyed as a very bad thing, leading to like a lot of the time half-truths or lies.
Yeah.
But propaganda, as far as I'm concerned, can just be propagating information.
Like, yeah, I think colloquially everybody knows propaganda as being untruth and not being a truth being propagated. I think I also sometimes use this as like not necessarily bad thing, like the word agenda, but I was corrected that it's not true, that propaganda does mean like actual lies by the leadership to the people.
Yeah, it's like half-truths. Yeah, that's what confused me one time, because people were saying to me, propaganda, it doesn't mean someone's lying, but that is the connotation, like fully, like when you think of propaganda, and it does even say places like half-truths, lie, you think, like Nazi Germany, like the lies spread, like so yeah. I can't think there's obviously going to be like loads of things that like different vegans say in newsletters, magazines, journals about, I don't know, food groups being bad for you, or just anything really, or like veganism will save your health, like no matter what, like stuff like that, you know. But veganism itself, like the ideology, like I challenge anyone to like say what's half truth or lie that we're spreading from the ideology. Like animals are sentient. It's a matter of philosophy whether or not you want to grant them, you know, their rights. So that would be you know, a different kind of thing. So yeah, we spread information, but I'm not comfortable to use the word propaganda because I know what that conveys.
Elle, I want to commend you on a great answer. I want to add that some people in the community do spread some propaganda. I call it some propaganda, but I don't think it's yeah, as you said, it's not
Entailed by
yeah.
There's a lot of subgroups, or not a lot, but there's quite a few subgroups that definitely would spread what I would call propaganda.
Yeah.
But veganism itself, no.
Patrick?
Yeah, I agree with Elle that there's some vegan, you know, dietary zealots who are, they're not just, they're more supporting like a whole food or a specific, you know, raw food vegan, or just with outrageous claims where, you know, if the whole world went vegan, there'll be no more cancer, you know. So these are, I think they hurt the vegan movement, but they're not related to ethics. They're just dietary claims, as Elle said. And then newsletters, magazines, journals for meat eaters. There's definitely propaganda in terms of, you know, the happy farms and packaging, but in terms of newsletters, magazines, journals,
Farming UK.
RSPCA.
Yeah.
Well, RSPCA says exactly what's going on, though.
They do. Yeah, about like macerating day-old chicks and gassing them, and
yeah, so
they say that that's permitted.
If there's propaganda, I think it's fringe. I mean, yes, it's done for the group, but I think it's only like specific farmers. And most farmers are incredibly truthful. They're just psychotic.
Can you call it fringe when it's been put on national television? Like adverts about Happy Farms, Happy Egg Company.
Yeah, but
it's going on mainstream media.
But then I would say it's societal and not meat eating. Because I used to work in a TV station, in news station specifically, and some shit gone on air being very propagandist and not truthful. Like I fact checked a few things for them as a teleprompter operator, which was weird. So I don't know. But on the other hand, I know what you mean. Like the group itself, because the journalists, they are meat eating. So I actually have an example from that TV station. The UN report on climate change, the person who was responsible on talking about it on air, I asked him afterwards, why didn't you say there was a pretty big chunk talking about us needing to drop beef in order to mitigate climate change? And he was like, yeah, I read that, but it pissed me off, so I didn't put it in. And then we had a huge argument about it. So, I don't know, maybe, like, it doesn't come from, like, cult, I'm reading it again, so cult-generated information and propaganda. Yeah, I think it at least partially applies, because
so for example, meat eaters in general, just like your average meat eater, when they come together, what sort of propaganda are they generating as a group?
Oh, they're not generating propaganda. They're regurgitating propaganda.
Yeah.
When propaganda is generated, it's by the higher ups. And I would call a news station a higher up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think higher ups as in like you know, TV adverts. Like only big brands make it to TV adverts. Like there's a lot of filtration and money involved in like getting an advert on telly, on national telly.
So I wouldn't say it's fully applies because it's I don't know. It's can it be separated from societal? Just yeah, it can. I think so. I think there is lots of propaganda. There is lots of regurgitation of propaganda because it is trickled down to the masses. So I would say it at the least partially applies, if not fully.
Hmm.
And you know how I'm trying not to be wrong-winded. So
I'm trying not to as well.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, I feel like there's a specific point missing just for misinformation and stuff like this, because most meat eaters, they have this image in their minds of happy farms, or 1 cow per year, and I don't know where these ideas are coming from, really.
From propaganda, Matt.
And I feel like there's also meat eaters themselves just creating this, just like on through social media influencers saying, I only eat 1 cow per year, and then other people start spreading it.
It's always lions, though. Why not any other predator? Wolves and lions, every time.
I think I'm thinking of opening an Instagram account and call it the elephant diet or the herbivore diet or tofu hills or something like that. And just let vegans send me wild anecdotes and I'll post them. All. What do you think?
I like tofu hills. Tofu hills is a good, it's a good one.
All right. I think I'm doing it.
But I think they should to do it. It should be like the most hilarious things, like, I ate 3 blocks of tofu and then I saw 13 aliens, and they told me I was the predecessor of like a dinosaur, and it should be stuff like that. To just take the complete piss.
And there should be like, if it's not a completely, if it even partially can be mistaken for truth, there should be a disclaimer there. But I'll figure it out. I have too many ideas, but zero motivation to make them.
I feel you.
Right.
It should be like, I'm going into my garden, taking dirt, putting it into my smoothie.
Wait, Patrick, what is your decision?
I feel like it's going to be fully applies.
You sure?
Unless one of you two will push back on me.
Oh, wow. I never heard such a loud silence. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Guys. You were about to say something.
I'm trying to be fair, but I'm sorry. It kind of fully applies.
Yeah, I think so.
If you look at every carton of milk, there's a happy cow on it, or
or humane, like Red Tractor approved, assured, like RSPCA approved.
Yeah, and here there are no cows on cartons of milk. They have the spots, the cow spots, black and white.
Oh.
Can't find out if cow is.
That's like an illustration, the ones I've seen. Yeah.
All right, so fully applies. Jesus Christ. Scientology again. They actually have an office called an office. It's a fucking place, like a compound called the Golden Era Productions, where they generate propaganda written by L. Ron Hubbard and sometimes written by other stuff as well, like other people as well, other staff. They also have a new TV station, and of course they have their own newspaper, a huge amount of books and audio tapes and videotapes and everything. They've got everything. Yeah. Again, extensive use of cult-generated information and propaganda. We continue, including misquoting statements or using them out of context from non-cult sources.
I'm sure this has happened in fringe cases, but if anything, we get what is said and try and elevate what is said verbatim. But, like the RSPCA approved, like the macerating of day old chicks. Like we like to get that and just show it black and white. So no, I maybe my cult glasses are on.
Yeah, Elle, I'm gonna
Um,
push back a little bit
Yeah.
because there's a thing that all of us as vegan use, and we can't actually prove that it exists or ever existed. The fact that we keep saying that a rape rack is called that way.
Yeah, and I've never seen any. That's true. I've never seen anywhere that people say, "Oh, the farming industry call it that," but I've never seen proof of that myself. So that could be something.
I saw it in one paper written out. I don't know if, and it's been flying around ever since, with zero proof about it. But I
I'm
guess
trying to
how
think
can you
what
get?
else.
Sorry?
I'm trying to think what else, because that is actually something that like I don't say it because I haven't found it. I haven't seen where it's actually like this is what we call it. So now I'm worried my cult glasses are actually on.
And yeah, I'm trying to think if there are more examples of that actually. Statement.
I couldn't think of any, but again, like that was actually one that I thought, yeah, why do people say that?
Sounds terrifying, that's why. Again,
Well,
we do
yeah.
catastrophize things sometimes once in a while, but
Well, we are just like other humans where we repeat things that are said to us. That's why it's so convenient for the industry when they say these animals are happy. People just repeat it. That's what you see information. You don't think or don't have the time to back it up.
seriously, one more meat eater is going to give me that Ted Nugent speech. I'm gonna fucking scream. Sorry, Patrick, go on. Please tell me how this does not apply to meat eating.
Well, you just mentioned Ted Nugent. I remember, Elle had a debate with Garland Farms, and they were saying, vegans, they're laughing at crop deaths. They say crop deaths, though. I don't know if Elle can remember this moment in the debate.
Yeah. I remember, and it's just like, oh my god, you've completely misrepresented why we say crop deaths, though. God, it wasn't even a debate, was it? Oh, it's making me relive that. Classic. 2 a.m. for that.
Good job, yeah.
I woke up at 4 a.m. for that.
It was a
Watch
complete
that. It was a
waste.
complete fucking disaster. Yeah.
I've never had my time wasted so much in my life, but yeah. But yeah, that is one that's repeated and completely out of context. But I'm thinking, is this something that's done on a
Consistently?
Yeah.
But people do quote Ted Nugent a lot.
It would be good if actually like people from the chat were
Yeah.
maybe can think of examples.
Examples, guys.
So it would be misquoting statements that meat eaters misquote. I mean, actually, there is one in the ideology in a way with the plant sentience. Like they misquote scientists saying that plants are intelligent or plants can hear themselves being eaten, like forgetting that like they are personifying, the language they're using is personification. Like it's not that they can actually hear themselves. It's complete misquoting of the research. So that would be something.
Yeah, I agree. Because sometimes they take, reaction to stimuli from a plant as a form of sentience, right?
Yeah.
What's the verdict, guys? Partially applies to both. Or do we have, or doesn't apply at all?
For meat eaters, I think it's not too regular, so I'll go for partially applies.
I mean, if I hear plant sentience one more time, I will jump out the window
Yeah.
and break my legs.
So no, maybe the plant sentience one pushes it towards a fully applies.
I think I alone have heard it 1 million times. If we calculate all the times we've heard it.
Well, I think there's just more of them. So there's more
Yeah.
repetition of a lie. I wouldn't say it's lies. Let me actually read
No.
this again. Extensive use of cult-generated information and propaganda, including misquoting statements or using them out of context from non-cult sources. So non-cult sources would be vegan sources, wouldn't it? In case of meat eating.
Yeah. Yeah, but not necessarily. It's just non-cults of the meat-eating ideology. So I would say, like, though there is like an ideology of like non-veganism in like science and research because of what they do to animals, I wouldn't say that's fully part of the cult in question.
Well,
Would you?
I would say I would divide at this point for the sake of this argument, and I think I can't see any other loophole. I would divide the world in vegans and non-vegans that we coined meat eaters, but that includes vegetarians. So there are only two groups. That's what we're judging. We're judging the entire world of 2% versus 98%. So
Yeah.
when it comes to meat eating, so does they take vegan sources out of context?
Not in a like not en masse, because I don't think that vegan sources are like very much out there.
I would actually say that the example of rape rack is so fringe, and that in meat eating, veganism is so fringe. So I would say it doesn't apply to both.
Yeah. It's just like I'm thinking of when like a documentary comes out and like is pulled apart and is misquoted, like, you know, like I guess like Cowspiracy, or but again, very fringe, very small.
Please say.
I've seen some meat eaters just deny what's going on, like, oh, it's not true, that pigs are gassed alive.
Yeah, there is not much misquoting unless it's by like a very specific anti-vegan person, I'd say.
Yeah, the one example I can think of is from the debate I mentioned, Jim Bob, where he was like, corrupt despo,
Ah, yeah.
you guys are laughing at that.
Right, let's move on. I think it doesn't apply. What do you think?
Doesn't apply to both.
Cool. This one goes to, yeah, I think it can be defined as a cult. Young Earth creationism, which is a sect in Christianity, which used to be the entire Christianity, but now it's a fringe section of it. And they are misquoting scientists all the time to prove that the Earth is 7,000 years old, especially Darwin. Quote Darwin greatly, which would be weird because Darwin, the creator of evolution, like the theory of evolution. Right.
The creator of evolution itself.
Unethical use of confession, information about sins used to disrupt and or dissolve identity boundaries.
See, this was one that I was kind of confused by. It sounded so out there to me that my intuition is just to be like, no, it doesn't apply.
Yeah. Patrick?
Yeah.
We
Could
can't
you
hear
sort
you.
of explain to me what exactly this means? Yeah.
So if I think in this case that means something like a confessional. You confess to a priest, then a priest uses that information to kind of make you change your ways or compliant, or dissolve identity boundaries. I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'm guessing you cross boundaries. That's what it means. Crossing somebody's boundaries by holding something over them. And I wouldn't take a sin in a religious way. In this case, I think it used in a colloquial way. Like if you have something dark that you confessed and it's being held against you.
I don't think there's any sins in the meat eating ideology. Yeah,
Yeah, I think there should be.
I think there actually are, which is ironic. There's animal cruelty.
Yeah, but nobody holds it against them.
No.
Except for
Well, it
us,
depends
but-
what animal and how you've done it. But again, it wouldn't apply to this. This is very obscure.
Yeah, I would say this is very specific. So the example is a cult within a cult. So DOS is a cult within Nexium, where slaves have to, the women divided into masters and slaves, and the slave women have to divulge very secret, very dark information about themselves to the masters. And it's actually one of the only times in history that they were incredibly clear about why they want that information. The slaves were told that it's sort of to hold it against them. Fine.
Jesus Christ.
We'll talk about the brand later. Unethical use of confession, withholding forgiveness or absolution. Yes.
No, if anything, if we're talking about like people like maybe not being vegan anymore and then being vegan again or something, like people like vegans are very like willing to just forget that you've been a meat eater for 20 years of your life. And suddenly the day you go vegan, it's like, oh, okay, like now, you know, so the forgiveness, if we're talking about it in those sorts of terms, is definitely there.
What about forgiveness for accidentally or not accidentally eating something that then going back to being vegan?
If it's an accident, I'm pretty sure, as far as what I've seen, if it's an accident, then there is the forgiveness. If it was on purpose, there isn't the forgiveness really, unless you go back.
Yeah.
But if you are like, no, I suddenly, you know, I don't care about animals anymore, or I changed my philosophy, then there's like, okay, now you are abusing animals again.
Well, now you are not part of the group anymore.
The
definitionally.
group.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick?
when a vegan wants to become ex-vegan, I don't see any sort of, you know, anger from meat eaters saying, "Why do you want to rejoin us after leaving?" You know, so
No, that's not what's happening. So it's withholding forgiveness or absolution. So, for instance, if a meat eater went vegan for a day, then meat eaters don't forgive him.
this was what my example I think was saying. I was saying if a meat eater becomes vegan and then wants to go back, I don't see any.
Yeah, sorry. I guess I. Sorry. Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't. If someone wants to stop supporting the exploitation of sentient beings, and then wants to then come back and start supporting the exploitation again, there's no sort of anger from meat eaters. If anything, they're like, "Oh, you know, come back, join us again."
There's some glee. Right. In Scientology, if you are declared a suppressive person and speak, in some cases, there is no way back for the ex-cult members themselves. But Scientologists, there is a procedure how to go back from being an SP declare into what is called good standing with Scientology. It's called A to E steps. The steps themselves are fucking horrible. Sometimes you have to spy on your family members or other ex-cult members, like that. And if you're doing it, you're basically doing it so that you don't lose bloody everything, like including your family and friends and work, stuff like that. Yeah.
Jesus.
Manipulation of memory, possible false memories.
No, this is a very like specific to the individual thing that I would say no, it doesn't apply. I mean, maybe it's done to me and I've forgotten. Bloody hell, they're bloody good at that.
Patrick.
Yeah, if someone sees some slaughterhouse footage and then I don't see meat eaters trying to sort of make them forget what they saw.
The vaporizer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what vapes are for.
maybe. Right. I said last time that it's gonna be Scientology heavy because I'm a bit obsessed right now. So on OT2, as I said, operating Satan 2, you're doing the past life whole track incidents. Basically, what you're doing, you sit in audit, hold the cans, and the emitter is working, and the needle is moving back and forth, and there is a person that called an auditor, and they are looking at the needle. So there is a procedure that they're going through, and basically he's asking, the auditor asking, well, did you do this? The person says, no. Well, did you do it in a past life? Oh, what's that? The needle started moving in a weird way. Where did you go there? What were you thinking about? So at some point, you must make shit up because this shit is costing you $500 an hour, right? So they're basically implanting these memories into your head because you're not bullshitting, right? You don't think you're bullshitting. You think you're saying the truth, looking past into your past lives, saying this. And then I just have to rant a little bit, right? On OT8, you find out, so all these memories, they weren't yours. Now it became your identity for 20 years, right? You thought you used to be Napoleon or Jesus or whatever. Nobody's Hitler, that's funny. But you're some great person at some point in your past life. It becomes part of your identity. And then on OT8, you lose fucking everything and there is nowhere to go. So fucking upsetting. So many OT8s left or just killed themselves.
Oh my God.
Right, we're moving on to thought control, but 8 past, what are you saying? Should we dip our toe in it and then stop for next time?
Yes, yeah. We'll begin on thought next time. I think is probably a good way to do it.
Yeah,
so we don't dip our toes.
So we don't dip our toes. Okay.
No, we're no different. Okay, then we can name it thought, and we can just maybe get through the entire thing in one go. It's quite extensive, though. I don't know.
Yeah, thought is incredibly. I haven't started all of it yet. Bad. We can finish it now. Any final thoughts, Vegan Gaze?
It's just, it's not looking good for the meat eating section, is it? Really?
I think it went better than
today
I was
expecting.
Today
was better, yeah.
Frankly,
it is, yeah, better than I thought. A lot of didn't apply. But when we're adding it as a whole, I'm reflecting, okay, and it's not looking very good. But veganism's doing better than we thought. But maybe me being a cult leader was a bad idea to put me in charge of this section.
Maybe I should take over Vegan Gaze. What do you think?
Yeah. You'd be more critical than me. I've got a cult brain.
Oh, I don't know about that. Right, let's reconvene next time for thought control.
Thanks again for preparing all of these examples.
Yeah.
Must have taken quite a bit of research.
Subscribe to Postmortem.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Stop.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.